Hi, I'm Paige from the University of Waterloo.
And I'm Alex from Simon Fraser University.
We're currently completing our co-op term at Goose Digital, where we've been working on 2 internal AI projects focused on automation and generative workflows. AI tools are evolving incredibly quickly right now, becoming especially important in creative and technical industries. And for businesses, staying ahead of the curve is very important.
A lot of companies are still spending huge amounts of time on repetitive manual work, and whether that's rebuilding websites, organizing content, resizing graphics, or recreating layouts across platforms. So our goal is to explore how AI can automate some of those workflows while still keeping outputs editable and usable for real production environments.
We both come from slightly different backgrounds. I've been focusing more on creative systems, branding workflows, and how AI tools interact with the design process.
And my focus has been more on development systems, infrastructure, and front-end workflows. That combination ended up working really well for these projects because both of them needed technical systems and creative usability. The first project focused on rebuilding WordPress websites into modern, static front ends. A lot of WordPress sites accumulate years of plugin clutter, page builder wrappers, shortcodes, and inconsistent formatting. So we built a pipeline that pulls content directly from the WordPress REST API, then cleans and restructures the data automatically. The clean content gets converted into structured JSON and Markdown files, which Astro can then use to dynamically generate pages and blog routes. One of the biggest problems we ran into was how inconsistent WordPress sites are actually behind the scenes. Different builders like WP Bakery, Elementor, and Gutenberg all use different class structures, nested wrappers, shortcodes, and plugin-generated HTML, which made the automated extraction and cleanup much harder than expected. Images were also another challenge. Some used absolute URLs, others came from media libraries, and many had missing alt text, which made the automatic organization really difficult. Even when the extraction worked, a lot of human cleanup was still needed to fix formatting, remove junk elements, and make the rebuilt front end usable. One of the biggest goals was reducing how much manual rebuilding work developers normally have to do. And even in early testing, the system successfully rebuilt an entire production site locally, while preserving most navigation and SEO metadata.
The second project focused on AI-powered branded image generation. One problem with a lot of current AI image tools is that they generate flattened outputs that are difficult to edit afterwards. So instead of generating fully finished graphics, the system generates first a structured layout JSON, and then it controls things like spacing, image zones, hierarchy, and text positioning. Those layouts are then rendered onto an editable canvas where logos, text, and assets can still be modified after generation to provide small changes. Getting that layout data to be reliable from the user's perspective was actually one of the biggest challenges in our initial experiments. While the initial LLM prompt we configured actually did a great job of creating layouts, it didn't do a very good job at rendering them because it wasn't aware of the container sizes, especially for text boxes. For example, not knowing the X value because it would wrap the middle of the text box versus the side of the text box. It can be challenging to run tests on visual tools like this because we need something to look at, and when things aren't calibrated correctly, it's hard to actually process what's happening and if it's correct or not. We also experimented with keeping outputs aligned to brand colors like hex values, formatting styles, and composition patterns instead of generating generic AI imagery. The long-term goal is making AI generative creative actually usable inside existing agency workflows.
So what does this mean? Well, one thing we learned quickly is that consistency is still one of the hardest parts of working with AI systems, especially when processing real-world production content instead of ideal demo scenarios. AI is powerful, but it needs structure, cleanup systems, and human review, especially when it comes to creating sites, since design and personality differs from person to person.
And honestly, sometimes the most useful parts wasn't even the generation itself, they were the systems around it. Things like editable outputs, reusable data structures, structured layouts, and workflows that fit into existing production pipelines. That's really where we think businesses could benefit the most from AI right now. We're still continuing to improve both systems, especially around consistency, scalability, and deployment workflows.
But even early on, it's been really interesting seeing how AI can support real production work instead of just generating isolated demos.